Greetings, dear ones. This is November 6th, Sunday, couple days before the election, couple days before the eclipse, right in the meteor shower that is generally at this time of the year, but also they do show up at other times of the year, but the meteor shower that's right now is very, very visible. And someone just joined us. Welcome, welcome. And we're looking at the tipping point of probably civilization right now. May I ask who has joined us? Hello, beautiful being. Thank you and welcome.
First timer.
Well, in this particular form.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So I figure I'm gonna turn my camera off. You know who it is, just because I thought it just gonna distract. Yes,
Thank
no,
you, but not really,
okay.
because I would, if you're more comfortable with it off, that's fine. But generally, participation is wonderful. For those of you who may be popping in a little bit late, the Facebook post had scheduled it for 12 o'clock, but because of the time change, it actually showed up this morning as 11 o'clock, which was very, very weird. So I don't know who has the information or not. So it's very unfortunate, but I didn't have time to tag everyone and let them know. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. And as I was just stating, we should have a couple more that I know are definitely attending. And I'll give them a couple minutes, but I'm going to pause the recording for one moment to just. So welcome to everyone who is listening in the current moment, as well as those who may be participating in a future moment. And given energetics and the fact that they are so fluid and that there is no fixed or linear time space, the energetics will be as effective. The drop in will be as deep, as intensive, and as powerfully effective for you personally and otherwise globally, hopefully, is what we're shooting for today, as it is in the live moment. So rest assured on that. Excuse me. So there's so much information coming in, and this Tuesday is key for elections here in the United States, as well as a full moon eclipse, which is very, very powerful. There's many different astrological interpretations of what this particular date and alignment mean, or this particular eclipse means. So I will leave it to each one of you to find your own source for an astrological interpretation. Tish, I know you do watch the one that I generally recommend. Is that correct?
Yes, but to be honest, I haven't watched anything lately, just too many other things that I've had to do. So you're referring to Pam Gregory?
Yes, exactly so.
So
exactly.
I don't know what she said.
Okay. And I frankly haven't had a chance to listen to her either, but Pam Gregory for me is one of the most accurate as far as a very large soul interpretation and a global soul interpretation. So I do align with her, and Kundalini master, astrology master, and psychological master is Guru Ratana. And again, I haven't had a chance to look at her interpretation, and we'll probably add or post some things about or underneath this video on Facebook and on YouTube about anything that really stands out for me. But this election, this point in time, is a very crucial tipping point, and that tipping point really has very little to do with political parties, with perspectives on how to run a government or taxes or healthcare or whatever else is being cited. This is really, for me, and all the signs that I've been seeing and the information that's been coming in from beyond this dimension, this is a decision point of whether we're going to move forward and into something new, into an evolved way of being, or we're going to go backwards and continue to do the same old, same old. Excuse me. And by same old, I mean a pyramidal structure where there are very few holding the power and access to exhaustible resources. So therefore they can be owned, therefore they can be monetized, therefore they can be used as power. Whereas when we're talking about moving forward, and that in fact it's a more global economy, there is more individual ability to reach out and either directly purchase or provide. And there is, more equal distribution of sources for information and technology and science. So for me, this is really about the maturation of the human species through individuation, which then equates to freedom, individual freedom, but also brings the responsibility with that, and the responsibility to be involved, the responsibility to find out. We're all very used to just kind of staying in our own little lane, working, in our lives, doing what we need to do on a daily basis. And that is no longer possible. We are being touched and affected by everything that goes on this planet. And we are also at probably the most serious point in regard to what is going to happen environmentally and climatologically on this planet, based on our choices, based on our actions, based on what we decide, or how we decide to handle what's getting to be a very grave situation with the lack of biodiversity, with the temperature changes, and many, many other things that are contributing to endangering us physically and just on a daily basis. Our water, our air, our food. And this isn't about, just how horrible the world is, but on the contrary, when you know what's going on, you are able to then combine that with your own sources, spiritual sources, intuitive, innate information, and vote in any given moment for how you want that situation to be. For example, one of the things that struck me a few weeks ago and affected me very deeply was the information that 69, that's 69, almost 70% of the wildlife on this planet has been decreased in the past 50 years. That is due to many different factors, but primarily man-made factors. And that is another tipping point. It isn't just a question of how many animals are on the planet, but that circle of life and too many pieces being removed for it to continue to spin. And again, it is what is touching you, what is coming up in your life. One of the readings that came forth today was very interesting because, excuse me, I don't normally pull this particular book for the date itself. It is dated throughout the year. Each page is a day or a given date, but I usually just open it up at random. And today it reads, this is from Opening Doors Within by Ellen Caddy, and she channeled a lot of beautiful information while creating an incredible community in Scotland called Findhorn. I encourage you to look it up. That's Findhorn. And it was a community created in conjunction with the earth, with nature, and what the potential of that can be when we're working in cooperation and collaboration with the earth and with nature. And excuse me, to grow our food and flowers and etc. And it says, these are no ordinary times. Behold the unfolding of my vast and glorious plan. Now is the time for the most wonderful changes to come about, so be prepared for anything at any time. There is nothing casual or by chance about those souls who are being drawn together at this time for the tremendous work ahead. There is a very definite plan unfolding. Unfold with it. Do not be anxious about anything. Banish all fear. Recognize my hand in everything. See the perfection of it all and give eternal thanks for it. Be ready and willing to accept your responsibilities. This life is not for the shirkers or those souls who are afraid of responsibilities. The new age demands strength, courage, and dedication, as well as rock-like faith and belief. It is a wonderful adventure, and therefore the spirit of adventure is required to move right into it and become part of it. Move with all that is happening quietly and peacefully without any strain, for all is very well. And that's a beautiful reading, and I would say very timely, despite the fact that this book was published in 1986. But I do align a little bit more with making those choices and deciding how you want this world to be and working in a deep process within related to what is going on in your life and how that is being reflected on a larger scale. And I would ask, you're here, Tish, are you familiar with, or do you, recognize that any of what is going on with you personally is also showing up on a larger scale in the world, or vice versa?
Oh, I would say definitely. For me personally, this moment, and part of the reason I'm here is, though I feel in a good, positive place for myself, there's also the challenge of how to listen to what's going on in the news. And what I feel in the news is that there's no sense of reality. I'm hearing all these different extremes, one way or the other, with regard to the political scene. And it just feels like it's total chaos. It doesn't feel like I'm not anchored in any of these, but I don't know how to deal with it. I mean, I already casted my vote and I'm in alignment with what I feel is appropriate. I'm happy with my decisions, but I don't know how that fits in with the rest of the world, or at least our country at this moment. And that's the disturbing part. I don't know. It's really, I feel like it's in chaos and it's up for grabs. That's why I'm here.
Interesting. And yes, it does appear it is chaotic. But out of chaos, underneath chaos, there is an underlying structure falling into place. And it's not at the hands of anyone else. The reading that I just shared with you all is one person's channeling, and her perspective is that the hand of God, so to speak, is what's determining everything. And from the perspective I work from, it is all of us as individuals that are voting how we want this world to be, whether it's in an actual election or whether it's in, again, our daily choices of what we do, what we purchase, how we live our lives. And moreover, on the micro level, it's the individual processing of what's coming up within each of us that will actually make the deeper changes. And when we're talking about energy and even beyond a quantum field, or what is recognized or spoken of as a quantum field, if in fact, which again, this is the perspective I work from, if in fact we all are participating, we all are deciding, we all are voting, we all are choosing, we all are designing the world the way it can be, the way we want it to be. When we're doing so unconsciously or without the feeling involved, then it is running in chaos, because those that are investing a great deal of energy or actions in the way they choose it to be are the ones that are deciding. So right now, the old guard, if you will, that are seriously fighting, pushing, last ditch effort to return things to the structure of old, that pyramidal structure, where a very few can own the resources that are underlying our economic structures. In this case, at this moment in time, it's oil and gas and precious metals and things that we take from the earth. In times of old, it was gold. Before that, it was spices. Before that, it was something else. But it was always an actual material object that can be possessed. So when that structure is deconstructing, that pyramid, it is falling down and things must die. And that's the other aspect. One of the major animal teachers that has been very present for the past few weeks, not only because of All Hallows Eve and all that goes around with that, are bats. And bats represent rebirth. They represent being able to come into a new way of being. And yet in many different cultures, or our current culture around Halloween, All Hallows Eve, whatever you want to call it, bats have gotten a very bad reputation and connotation as representatives of vampires, or that which is scary, attacking it from the dark. And so I would invite each one of you, or the bat invites each one of us, to look at what is sucking life from you and what is sucking life from the world. And consumerism is one of them. There's many things going on. But again, if we are able to go within and really feel into what you want your life to be, what you want this globe to be, this planet to be, this world to be, and create from there. There are so many wonderful groups that focus more in the visual or the third eye or the mind. And that is a very fickle place. And so my encouragement to all my clients, people who study with me, what have you, is to drop down deep within to the feel of the world you want to be. For example, and again, very individually being called to what it is that you want to change at any given moment in time. For example, just to give you a train of events that led me to work with a particular aspect of a dangerous aspect of our planet right now. I was working with a client and she really needed to drop deeply within her. And what came in was the figure of a well and how deeply one needs to oftentimes go to reach the water table below. And so the representation of a well dropping deeper and deeper and deeper into to be able to access the flow of water. The next morning, one of the readings, again, random picked, and speaks about a well. And in that case, a well that was spoken about in the Bible. The next occurrence was a gathering I was in with several hundred people who are trained in a particular form of magic or earth-based magic. And what came through is the Lady of the Lake and the Mists of Avalon for that group. And again, the well in the books written by oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, I don't have her name, but the Mists of Avalon, they speak of the Chalice Well. And long before it was the Chalice Well that was purported to be tended to by one of the 12 disciples, long before that, it was a well used by those of the Isle of Avalon and continues to be so. The very next day in my feed, in my news feed, came up an article about the wells in the Southwest being accessed by huge corporate farms and having no way to monitor the amount of water that they're utilizing. And these are foreign owned farms, by the way, not American. And the food and whatever is being grown there is not coming back to the American economy, but instead being taken to another country. And these are massive farms and they're using massive amounts of water. Now, in my human self, of course, riled up, it's like, oh my gosh, how can this happen? Feeling some angers or frustration or upset. And then, processing those feelings and where does it correspond to my own individual feeling of injustice, whether it's currently or in my younger years where that injustice was and that I had no say so, and these large people in my world were making decisions for me and I had no rights or any ability to say different. And once processing through that, sitting deeply in how I wish, how I desire, how I feel the water in the world to be in the future. And that is clean and clear and vibrant and with all kinds of different life forms within it, from bacteria to fish to wildlife, and that it is sufficient for everyone's use, which it is when there isn't an overuse by one group or another, or groups. So that's what we're going to be doing in a very short, a few minutes. We're going to be dropping into those places within where you can feel perhaps initially the negative response, but then into the more ideal way of, in this case, water being in the world, and that people care for it and are delighted in it and actually have a relationship with water. And when you're sitting very, very deeply in those desires, in those dreams, in those wishes, and energetically, we're going to be led deeply into a creation energetic. Each one of us has our own form of creation energetic. And today we're going to be dropping even deeper underneath that. And when you feel this desire, this want, this wish, this dream into that, even, the very foundation of this civilization, the foundation of this species, the foundation of the formation of this planet, then your personal desire, your personal wish is being voted in to how it will be. And the chaos that you speak of, Trish, is purposeful in many instances to keep people in yes, absolutely fear-based. It plays on fears, it plays on hungers, and it plays on the missing pieces within us to keep us off balance, to keep us out of ourselves, to focus on what is being seen and heard rather than what we feel and what we deeply desire. And so it is really, really important, yes, to absolutely, in this country on Tuesday, go vote. There have been elections in many other countries that have been distorted, diverted by certain groups. But in the end, the individual and collective desires of the people will occur when and as we stand in that strength of our own individual power. And collective power really makes the small group at the top of that pyramid completely powerless. In this instance, let's just talk about where we put our money and the choices that we have as millions and billions of people on this planet. And if we chose to cease purchasing or to support certain companies and technologies that are able to help benefit the majority, help the earth, etc., it really pulls the teeth on the apparent power of the few. So in this, some refer to this as imagineering or engineering through your imagination. And I think that it is much more effective to engineer through your, excuse me, individual, physical, energetic, spiritual, emotional body. Anything you'd like to comment or add, Tish? Okay, just wanted to give you an opportunity or ask or anything at this point. So the amount of help that we have right now is just mind-boggling. We have planets moving into place because there is a constant interdependence between ourselves, the planets certainly in our solar system and even beyond, and the Earth. It it was meant to be a system wherein there is constant interconnectedness, interrelatedness, interdependence, a very intimate relationship with the Earth. And we've moved away from that. And we have still so many groups on the planet, indigenous groups, those that are attempting in their own cultures to bring back the knowledge and the ways of old. And as well, we have science bringing us closer in its way, again, to the earth and ways that we can cooperate and collaborate with the earth for our mutual benefit, as well as those things that are provocative and catalytic. And those are the more aggravating, painful, scary things that we see in the world. There must be death if there is also to be life. Another, I'm just going to see if I can briefly touch on I don't want this to be, it's a bit long. Let me see if I can read it a little bit. This is from a beautiful book from channeled information, also from a source that brought this in as a 5-year program, eventually a 5-year program for self individuation and self awareness, not awareness, but self-knowing. And it speaks of the dualistic consciousness and growth. Let us apply this distinction to the growth process. As long as human consciousness is geared to duality and cannot transcend it, the growth process is very problematic. Growth is movement in time and space. Therefore, growth on the dualistic plane automatically moves from one extreme towards its opposite. And that goes to your point, Tish, about all of the chaos. Excuse me. There must be chaos to bring not order, but in a new way of allowing diversity within unity. Because many of the processes or the perspective of the old way was that everyone is under the control of one way, whether it's an emperor, whether it's a pope and it's religious, whether it's a party, communist party, that everyone is supposed to toe the line to this one way of seeing things, this one way of believing, this one way of working. And it is very oppressive and very controlling. When we're talking about individuation and people doing their own thing, as the old saying goes, it seems like we won't be able to do that and move forward collectively. And I believe that to be very erroneous. I believe that, and from all the experience I've had looking at clients, that when that individual choice is made, when you are living from that deep place of knowing and connection and intimate relationship with self, what you want is interwoven with what others desire, and the complexity and sophistication and threads all weave together to create a world in which we all can live. Those that want to maintain the old way or the old order or the Piscean age does not allow for that individual choice, those individual desires. And it's not that it cannot be. We, again, with that complexity of the planets, the earth, so much involved in this project, it can all be interwoven and create a beautiful web, a beautiful structure where each individual's true desire can go into effect. Because it's not coming from a place of the old way of greed and ownership and control and oppression and sameness. Physics teaches us that there can be incredible amounts of moving parts and still have a unity. And so that's why I encourage everyone, and we're going to do that in a couple minutes right now, is to drop into those deeper places, into your deeper desires, not those desires created by your brain. Those are intentions or ideas of what you want, and not even into the heart. And I know that's controversial to say that because everyone believes heart-centered and love is the answer. And while it may be, the heart also is a tricky thing and a very fickle thing in that its wants are often based in need and lack and fear. Excuse me. But when you're making those desires, when you're allowing those desires to come through from your innate, in the old terminology, from your gut, and from your core, which is the very essence of who you are and always have been as a soul, and each existence is an added experience to that essence. And when those desires are coming from that place, then it will interweave, even though it seems individualized, it will interweave with all others that are moving in a forward or evolutionary direction. The opposite, or going backwards, is the destruction, is the dismantling, or we are in the dismantling and destruction of that old way. For I do, again, when we're talking about those basics, everyone desires clean air, clean water, access to information, our food to be grown with, our health in mind and not simply profit. So those basic desires are, I believe, within all of us. So when something comes across your desk that is upsetting to you, for example, as I said, the wildlife reduction, 69% of wildlife reduction over 50 years, I can take action. I can take care of those critters that come to my land and cooperate with them by not putting chemicals, many other things, feeding them, etc. But it is more in my connection to them, my love of them, my back and forth communication with them, the recognition that they are beings that have a choice and have a vote as well to be here. And my desire that they have what they need to for fulfillment also, whether that be in their environment, whether it be access to food sources, have enough habitat to live in, etc. So that's what I'm going to sit in as I physically take action as well, and whatever I can, supporting different organizations that work towards the preservation of land and animals, or whether it's on my own individual property. And even if you live in an apartment, there are always little critters of one sort or another around you. And the back and forth between you and they is what will perpetuate them as much, if not more so, than taking physical action. No, that's a lot, but it is perhaps and hopefully a different way of viewing what's going on in the world rather than a fear place or an it's all going to hell in a handbag perspective. But which it does appear to be in many instances. The one thing that I would say is this is it is such an accelerated process. Under other circumstances, what we're going through and what we are attempting to achieve would take a couple 100 years. And instead, we're doing this in a generation or maybe a generation and a half. And that's why it is so intense. That's why it is so chaotic, because everything in the mix has to be tossed up to then come down into the form that we as participants desire, and not just human participants, but all the participants in this. And it gets really, really difficult. I don't even see the news, but I do get headlines. And even from that, it does look as if we may not make it. And that's when I drop deep in to me, see where it's touching on my personal issues or that which I've experienced, and then move into a place of feeling the way the world can be. And sometimes I need a little help. So I will turn on Star Trek, for example. That is a view of humans in the future, 300 years in the future, but where on this earth there is no war, there is no lack, there is no hunger, there is no money per se, and people can pursue their life's work simply because they feel the calling, not because they are privileged or in any other way someone else deciding what they can or can't do. If that doesn't work for you, I would highly encourage you to watch a wonderful new movie called Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, if you haven't seen it, because it so accurately outpictures how we are confined and in repetitive ways of living versus the awakening to the fact that we do have choice, and in making those choices and how our world can be. I don't want to ruin the movie for you, but I will tell you to make visual note at the end of the wild and varied options available. And I won't say any more because I don't want to ruin the movie for you, but I would love for a group, we may actually end up having everyone watch it and then sit and discuss it and work with that energetically in the near future. Another great movie is Tomorrowland with George Clooney. I encourage you again to watch the movie. It's a fun movie, but feel into the way the world can be if in that particular vision. And of course, an old movie and beautiful story, Lost Horizon. And I think there's been a remake of it with music. I would recommend not watching that one and instead to venture into black and white if you haven't done so previously and watch the Ronald Colman version. And this is where this is the story where the word Shangri-La comes from, or the name Shangri-La. And it is, again, another vision of how we can work with one another in a community with everyone's needs and desires and way of being included. And when you tap into those and feel into them and drop deeply into the energetic that we're now heading into, that's how we move forward. That's how we evolve. That's how we change from the old into the new way of the earth, or the new way of humanity. And again, that was a lot of information, I realize, and a lot of buried concepts. But the way I have come to work is that this is a container and it's all in there. When we exclude anything, whether it's the most horrendous or destructive or painful or scary, or whether it is excluding the rest of the earth except for humans, any of those ways in which we are shutting out or not wanting to feel or see creates more duality. I didn't finish reading from the one reading, but it really talks about us moving from a dualistic way of being to a more unified way of being. And that doesn't mean everyone the same. But what it does mean is that all are participating. And so in a container, an alchemical container, all must be here in order for the actions and reactions between and among all of the ingredients to create or give birth to something new. So all of that is here. I know, Tish, like you said, it looks like chaos and the news is just blaring all kinds of scary, infuriating, etc. aspects of our world. And they are true. They are going on. But that must be here too. As well as, you know, the amazing occurrences that one feels interacting with nature. We have in this area magnificent color changing as those leaves die, as those plants, and even, you know, this is a time when the older animals and critters fall away because they can't make it through winter. And it is right, and it is as it needs to be for the birthing of more to come. So we're bringing in the beautiful fall as one of the energetics that have been present and are here today. This leaf that just appeared on the ground, it actually was completely green, but it just symbolized that beautiful duality that occurs of life and deathing. And another animal that has been very present is the deer. This is a deer bone, representing that very, very gentle spirit that sees beyond the terrifying and the ugly and is able to touch into the true heart, the true center of a being. and melt away all of the rest. We have a couple of beautiful oils with us today, and one of them is called One Voice. These are Young Living oils, and this was precisely developed for us to call forth in one voice the health and abundance that is available to us through the earth, to call forth as one voice unity with diversity. And the other oil is another newer blend called Bloom. And that is here because those desires and wishes that we are planting today, let's say, will come to blossom and bloom in future. We also have, this is only one form, but the snake, the turtle, and the hawk as always. And that snake representing transmutation, changing one thing into another completely. It's not just modifying, it's not just adjusting, but completely transmuting it from a poison, let's say, into a medicine. From death, which gives life, all of those things that are dying, the leaves that are dying, allow for the soil, allow for the microbes, allow for the worms and all the little critters within to do what they need to do to blend with the soil for growth in a future point or at a future point. So I invite you to really find your sits bones, find your seat, feel yourself seated on the chair, the couch, whatever it is that you may be sitting upon. And feel that physicality, because when we tend to just kind of go up and out, we're not truly accessing the deeper foundational energetics of this third dimension, of this planet, of our physical presence here, as well as our spiritual energetic being. So when you feel yourself seated, feel the back of your legs, feel your thighs if they're touching the couch or the chair, feel your feet on the floor, feel the back of the chair. Hopefully you have something that you can feel the support behind you, that you can feel the backing, that you don't have to hold yourself up, but instead allow the chair or the couch to do just that, so that your bones, your physical framework, can do what it is meant to do. And that you need not hold yourself, but instead to allow that softening into your own body's beautiful, complex, purposeful way of being. And as always, we have the elements with us in this container, and I call upon them, the land, the air, fire, and the water, to bring into right relationship our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies here and now. Just allow yourself to notice or preferably feel physically the air moving in and out of your lungs in whatever pace or rhythm it seems to be for you right now. To actually sensate your physical body. Sitting in a chair, floor, couch. If it helps to run your hands over your body to bring attention or awareness to this magnificent vehicle, which allows us to explore, to adventure, as the reading mentioned. To bring any and all emotions here. They are all welcome because they are part of the human experience. To recognize the exceptional abilities of our minds. But to not be solely directed or dictated to by the mind alone. To allow yourself to recognize that you are a spiritual being that exists and has existed throughout all time, all space, for you are an immortal soul, and therefore nothing can truly harm you, nothing can truly distort that essence of you. Only expand it as another experience, as another form. And as always, we invite the Master Gatekeeper to open all doors, portals, and passageways that can in any way benefit us or ours, which includes family, friends, one's property, the extension of you in the physical. and to close all doors, portals, and passageways that can in any way harm you or yours. So that seals this container, allowing you to sink ever more deeply down and within your own being, your own body, your own energy field. Sensating all the ingredients within this crucible container, mixing and blending and stirring, combining, catalyzing one another, evoking, as you sit ever more deeply in you, as you, inclusive of all the many parts of you, the many aspects of you, the many times of you, whether past, future, and present. And as much as you can, softening and gently, with that gentleness of deer, asking your mind and your third eye to step back from the fore, to sit in the back seat, let go of the steering wheel, and instead, in that deep faith and belief that Eileen Caddy mentioned, and the expectation for the way you desire the world to be, touching into and being led by your deeper knowing, your internal compass, your innate, which on the physical and energetic bodies is located a few finger widths below your diaphragm, which can be found right where your ribs come together. Not envisioning that place in your body, not thinking about it, but simply allowing yourself to sensate, physically and energetically feeling your gut place, so to speak. For that is a direct line of communication between you and your soul, that your soul is constantly transmitting directions, information, guidance of where to go, what to do, when to do, or how. And coming directly from your own soul and a much, much, much wider perspective, your soul experience it will always lead you towards your highest and best fulfillment. Fulfillment of your soul's destiny. And as we move ever more deeply, ever more downward and within, to our inner verse, allowing your energy field and that wider soul self to bring you steadily down and into the very core of your being. From whence your true desires birth. And inclusive in this crucible is that which we do not want, that which we desire to be different. Perhaps it is the infliction of harm that is occurring in so many forms right now. Perhaps it is the greed and control of the old ways, of the pyramidal structure. Perhaps it is the lies and the using and the abusing of power or a platform. Perhaps it is the thievery of water and land and so many other resources. Whatever it may be that is striking a resonant chord within you, of what you wish to be different. And then dropping more deeply within you, your body, your energy field, your emotional body. Accessing how you desire, not from your mind, but from a deep place within, perhaps your abdomen, perhaps the very center of your torso. To allow for and expand your desire, your wish, your feel of the way it can be. So sitting deeply in the clean, vital, vibrant water that was mentioned. perhaps tapping back into a place or an experience where you saw, felt, tasted, heard, smelled a waterfall or a brook or any other body of water that you have encountered that is clean and clear and vibrant. This is an example of how you can change the way it is. Feeling into that experience of water in its purity. Freshness, flow, and movement from a deeper wisdom. Or perhaps if it is the lies and deception and purposeful manipulation that upsets you, then allow yourself to drop deeply in to the truth of who you are. Or perhaps a story or myth or legend or movie where integrity and honor and truthfulness and respect were personified. That is your power to create, to design, to reform, not only the blueprints, but the very foundational matrix of this physical world. No thought or mind coercion is necessary. Allow yourself to simply follow your own energy field, your own wider soul self. That will show you, guide you, lead you ever more within you. For when and as it is this depth of you that is planting the seeds of the way you wish this world to be. You are placing it within the foundational matrix. Out of which this reality blooms and blossoms. Simply feel, simply follow, evermore. Downward and within. Knowing that you can re-experience this place within you, this deeper creation point. This voting point. This choosing point. Placing your desires, your wishes, your dreams, not to be granted by someone or something else outside of you, but instead knowing that your vote, choice, wish, dream truly matters. Truly determines the future of this project Earth. And that everything is in divine order. That you are in the exact right place at the exact right time. And everything is in divine order. For it is the divinity within you that is choosing the order of things, the ordering of things. And so ever so gently allowing your body, your energy field, your wider self to dictate or determine the pace, the rhythm, and the way in which you move from what might have been a less physical back to a more physical experience. in this 3D reality. And gently, ever so gently, feeling your way, not using your mind, but feeling your way. You're welcome to stay in this state if you so desire, knowing that whenever you choose to return to a more physical state, all that has occurred, all that your body and energy field has experienced will be in the exact right form for you to continue your day in whatever way you choose. It all will have been incorporated and integrated within your being. And unlike actual physical elections, you can go in here and vote at any moment, in any point, and re-vote again and again and again on a particular aspect if you so choose, or different ones as they arise. Knowing that your vote counts. So, is there anything you'd like to say, Tish, before we sign off? She's showing me just a big thumbs up. Wonderful. Then until next time, sweet beings, whoever re-listens to this, know that your vote will always count, from especially when it's made from this place. And as always, it is with the greatest of honor, gratitude, and love for your presence here on this planet at this time. Bye.